Welcome to the Think Fitness Life podcast, where we bring the mind, body, and gym together so you can improve your health, increase performance, and live your best life. For more information, visit thinkfitnesslife.com. Here are your hosts, Matt Gluckman and Eric Menchie.
All right, we are live once again with the Think Fitness Life podcast with your host, Matt Gluckman, and co-host Eric Menchie, who is not with us today, but I am with a special guest today, Justin Frandson, who is a renowned athletic performance coach, founder of athleticism and emfrocks.com, and he has over a decade of experience in the field. And we're going to talk about human performance and our environment. And specifically today, I wanted to bring up the topic of EMF and some of the underlying causations around what we've been seeing in terms of higher anxiety rates, higher infertility rates, and a host of other problems. So, Justin, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Matt, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so in terms of, I really want to kind of capture this for people and not try to scare them, but look at the realities of some of the things that have been on the rise that we might be able to investigate into and look at some of the EMF changes. So what are some of the common problems that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, so definitely I saw this clinically at athleticism. I work with amateur and professional athletes. So one of the first things I saw were athletes breaking down from wearable technologies. And that's what got me into the space about a dozen years ago or so, over a decade ago. And his arm went weak. He had pain underneath right where the smartwatch was. So I said, hey, take off that radiation off your wrist. And the pain went away right away. And then his arm function slowly restored. So that was where I really got into it. Years prior, I had several experiences myself where I did an internship in college at a commercial real estate firm, and they stuck me around a copy machine. That's an X-ray machine. That's ionized radiation. I was pulling paper off the X-ray machine for weeks on end, and my fingertips would burn. And this is 30 years ago when the X-ray machines were the size of an entire room. And so there's a lot of leakage there. So the papers were super hot, but my fingertips would burn. I would just like, oh, it's hot, hot, hot. And I'd drop it real quick and go to the next one and go to the next one. And so now, 30 years later, I have nerve pain in my fingertips when I touch a touch screen. So I tend to use the stylus. So pretty much on my desk, everywhere is a pen with a stylus on it. And so I also had some challenges with, the cell phone, or actually talking on a corded phone. I would feel the pain after talking to a girlfriend for hours on the phone and be like, why is this hurt? Does everyone feel this? There's something weird here. And so I was the last guy to get a cell phone because I knew if a corded one bothered me, that a wireless one would be way worse, but I didn't know why. So basically I felt a lot of things. So I had this intuition built up. I started to see it clinically. And then the other stuff I started to see were mostly cognitive challenges, Matt. So lack of focus, memory, anxiety, fatigue, stress. We see headaches. You'd see ringing in the ears, muscle twitching, like a little more severe, bloody noses. Those are some of the things that you would see. And then when I would go to meter homes, I got to see even all of the worst, which would be
testing the level of EMF. You're saying you'd go to homes and test for their level of exposure to this stuff?
Yeah. So I, about a decade ago, once I saw the athlete breakdown, I'm like, I got to dive into this. So I started getting meters and then going to homes. That's where, as a practitioner, when you go to someone's home, you could see how healthy their home is. So I would see if the head of their kid's bed was on the other side of a smart meter. And that was the reason they were grinding their teeth down to nothing, like literally nothing, no teeth.
Yeah.
And then the other one would have autoimmune. The other one would have seizures. The other ones, other houses had diabetes. And I got to see the list was just crazy. But level 2 would be the grinding of the teeth, and then the non-trauma concussion symptoms of nausea, vomiting, rashes on the skin. And then you go in the bigs, cancers, the suicide, diabetes, Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, and then lack of fertility, cancer as well. So I've seen all those clinically in the last decade. So that was where, it really started to hit home. And then I even jumped into it at a deeper level clinically and going, well, how do we treat these? Because we started looking into it. And then Dr. Martin Paul's work talks about the voltage gated calcium channels opening up. So that's voltage gated. That's where your mitochondria gets its energy, is through that channel. And that channel, when it's blocked or it gets more calcium, positive calcium, negative cell, that's an oxidative stress, that's cell and DNA damage. That's challenging for the body. That directly affects your mitochondria function. Then I started to realize that the same bandwidth of 2.45 gigahertz destructures water. So that's what our routers are at, our cell phones are at, all the wireless signals are at about that same bandwidth. And that's the minimum level that destructures water. And then the last part, I know it's a long-winded answer, more than you bargained for.
Yeah. But
the eyes, the teeth, the thymus, and the intestine area, Matt, are the 4 areas that get decharged the most. And so what I saw clinically is, like, when you're working with athletes, and working with people on their fitness levels, they're only as strong as their weakest link. So the weak links of the body for EMF are eyes, teeth, thymus, and intestines. So
great.
we started to recharge those. We would tap on them with our grounding bag. You could tap on the grounding bag and then do an applied kinesiology technique and recharge those. So literally clinically, the whole gamut of pretty much most major health challenges that you could list, that anyone can list, are pretty much directly related to EMF. And the reason is because everything has a resonance, and EMFs are man-made one-directional waveforms, and they're different than how we're made. So they're disrupting our energy fields.
A few things I want to unpack there. One thing that I want to kind of put out there for people is just, we have 30 trillion cells in our body, and we have anywhere from like 100 to 2,000 mitochondria per cell. Anything that's going to damage our mitochondria is going to impede our performance and our health.
Yes. So now you know how man-made affects us. Let's share the difference between how we're made and the universe is made, because this is where we really start to understand this whole thing. And in layman's terms, everyone can chew on this. And it's a physics, which is a big word, physics topic. It's talking about waveforms. Well, the man-made ones are all one directional. That just straight, simple. And they're way faster than how we're designed to sleep, rev, and optimize. And when I say faster, what I mean is, when we sleep, our brainwave states are in a delta or theta brainwave state. They're 1 or below 1 to 8 hertz or waves per second. When we're in an alpha state, when our athletes are in the flow and they're performing all the work that they put into it, to get them into what everyone calls in the zone, that's a brainwave state of 8 to 12 hertz or waves per second. And the Schumann resonance, the healing pulse of Earth, is 7.83 hertz or waves per second. I mean, these are big, just tangible numbers that everyone can understand. We're one with that resonance of the Earth. Now, again, these cell phones are 2.45 billion waves per second. The 5G is 60 to 90 billion waves per second of a one-directional waveform. So it's a significant difference on how we're designed and made, and the speed of it as well. Now, when we talk about the universe, we're made, everyone has a resonance, kind of alluded to before. And Bruce Lipton will talk about our chi lies in our health, lies in our energy field, and then the chemistry is secondary. So you have to have energy, and that's why we're seeing people get affected by it, because the energy field gets chipped away. But our energy fields are unpolarized. This 6-foot rule that has been employed, especially the last few years, it's not a one-directional line out your right ear or out your nose or behind you. It's a resonance that goes equally around you.
Okay.
Just the same as if you dropped a pebble in a pond. Does the splash of the pebble go in a straight line to the right or left?
Mm.
No, it
It
distributes
goes all the way
equally in every
out.
direction.
Yeah.
Why is that? And the answer, Matt, is that our
Hearing.
entire universe are scalar waves.
Okay. Okay.
And scalar waves are the waves that are unpolarized, that distribute equally in every direction. Okay. And that's the framework for every organism in our entire universe and us being one with the universe. So the sun's unpolarized waveform. There's a window right there, but you can still see light underneath my hand. If it were one directional, you wouldn't be able to see it. It would just be a laser dot right there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's rationale behind all these physics components of how our universe is made, and that's really it at a layman's term. And our bodies get recharged from being in nature and being one with it. We get that negative ion charge from the earth. We get the positive charge from the sun. We act like a body battery. We breathe in minerals. Hopefully we get it from our food, and then we get it from our water, and then we get conductivity from the water too. So that's how our body battery works. But when you introduce a huge environmental stressor of a one directional waveform, it's going to chip away at our life force.
Yeah. And especially at the strength of the wave that we're talking about here with the 5G signaling. So talk to me about someone comes into your clinic. How do you test for this? How do you measure their disruptive levels?
Yeah, well, pretty much if someone's sensitive to EMF, they're toxic. And that's the golden rule. If someone's really hypersensitive to EMFs, or then that means they have a level of toxicity in their energy field or internally. So I measure it. I do applied kinesiology. I do muscle testing. It's a form of testing the reflexes of your muscles. These would be reflexes off of just muscle and nerve reflexes of your body. And you can talk to your body, excuse me, subconsciously as well. And I could say, hey, Matt, put your arm out. And I would say, say your name, say, my name is Matt. And you would hold strong your arm. And if I were to push down on it, your arm would not go down. And if I'd say, hey, Matt, say your name is Fred, you'd go, my name is Fred. Your arm would go weak, like instantly. So it's a way to talk to your body subconsciously through reflexes, because we have these primal reflexes, just like the knee reflex, the patellar reflex. We have it when we shrug our shoulders, we say, I don't know. Yeah. And when we get rear-ended, we arc back, we breathe in, and we open our eyes. We get hit in the stomach. It's the exact opposite. We close our eyes, we exhale, and we breathe forward. There's natural reflexes of the body that through applied kinesiology and learning how to read someone's energy and start to test it, you can feel when they're strong or weak to something. So we can hold the phone up to somebody and then their arm will go weak.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then you put a grounding bag with the phone and then they're strong.
There's no issue. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So if somebody...
the other part is you could do, so many doctors do different tests. Dr. Berlando did a waveform test. So he measures your chi and any distortion in it. And so that's how we found out our grounding bags clinically passively treat up to 91% of the markers off. So you can do pH tests. You can do, a lot of times, heavy metal. People with heavy metal tests, they're going to have potentially nuclear hiding behind the heavy metals.
Okay.
So it's super tricky.
It's great though, because I didn't really.
So they got to do detoxes. You got to chelate and do heavy metal detoxes.
Right. And I didn't really know there was a lot of different ways to test for this, so that's great. And then we were briefly talking about it before we started the podcast, but you say you also will do some testing at people's homes, correct?
Yeah. You can test their homes to see the health of the home. So I would encourage Matt to get some meters. I would start with a Stetzer electric meter, STETZER electric.com. It's $140 about. You plug it in the wall, it tells you how healthy the wiring is in your home and how much static electricity is in there. So on this EMF stuff, really simple. They make meters to measure certain speeds of waveforms. So a milligauss meter is 50 to 60 waves per second. So if you go and get a milligauss meter that meters milligauss and magnetic resonances, that's a lower, slower speed of a waveform. Then the Stetzer meter is 4,000 to 100,000 waves per second. Excuse me. And then you go into the wireless, which is 50 million to billions of waves per second. So you get an acoustometer, wireless meter. I like the one directional wireless meters because you could point it, you could show a kid, especially show them like, hey, this cell phone, hey, it's so quiet, it's calm, it's not making any noise. But then all of a sudden you point a meter up and the meter starts screaming. You point the meter away, it quiets down. Point it back, it's screaming. So that's when the kids can go, wow, this is pretty incredible to see that this isn't my security blanket. This is a environmental stressor that's always making noise, that's making a vibration that's not great for my body. So I got to keep this away from me and then establish some proximity protocols. So those are the 3 meters, and how they measure it are through the waves per second. And then that's when you go into a home or an office and you can measure how healthy that environment is, because it's all about our environment. And unfortunately, people don't think about your, invisible environment unless you're in LA and it's all polluted and you could see the air and the air pollution. But there's this new type of invisible toxin called man-made EMFs that are super challenging.
And a lot of them are coming off of our cell phones, in our Wi-Fi, like in our own house, like that. Can we get it from like a bad light bulb, a bad selection in our lighting or something like that?
You can get it in lighting too. Yeah, the new LED lights, Matt, they have transformers in them. So they kick off more dirty electricity than anything too. So if you have brand new house with LED lights, that'll meter with a Stetzer meter like you have solar. Unfortunately, solar causes lots of dirty electricity. They haven't figured out how to ground it. It's like the amps to volts. They haven't connected them. So in order to ground something, those signals have to meet, and then you bring it to a ground outside typically.
So
if the signals going in and out of a junction don't meet, you're going to have dirty electricity. Same with wires, same with solar. So same with dim switches on a light, and then same with having a transformer in an LED light. And then obviously the blue light is a challenge with those too.
And TVs and computer monitors as well?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And all the screen time, it's different. It's a different light than it's not in full spectrum light. So we want to get blue light blockers if you're using those devices all the time, especially at night before you sleep, because it tricks our body and our circadian rhythm to thinking it's still daylight out for several hours. So if you go to bed at 11 o'clock and you're watching a big screen TV, you're not going to get into a deep sleep till about 2 a.m. So you're missing out on really good quality sleep. Our bodies, we want to get one with the universe, get in a circadian rhythm with nature. So you rise with the sun and you start to wind down when it sets. And that's the huge thing with our bodies, is we have this internal clock that we got to get connected with it and then feel the resonance and recharge our body batteries with her outside as well.
Yeah, and I can speak to that one personally myself, because I have ulcerative colitis, but it's been in remission for the longest period now in my life, for the last like 2.5 years. And one of the bigger major changes was using those blue light glasses every time the sun went down, so that I wasn't getting stimulated, because what I learned along with the stimulation of keeping you awake is it actually depletes your serotonin levels. So just using those glasses before I went to bed made a huge difference to my stress levels and my gut response accordingly. But now you make me want to get a pair of kind of the blue light for the day as well, so that when I'm working on my computer, I'm not getting disruptions. And I am someone who also has a Faraday bag For those of you who don't know what that is, it's just a bag you put your phone in, and it helps reduce the EMF signaling. And most of us put our phone right next to our head at night. We want to make sure we hear our alarm so we can get up and go be productive, little worker bees the rest of the day. And you bring up LED, and it made me think, because I read this book recently about Tesla and the last days of night. And actually the blue LED, I think, was invented in like the 40s. So before that, you had like a lot of iridescent bulbs. Basically, you were lit by fire, right? You had by candlelight. So that didn't disrupt you. That wasn't the blue wavelength light that would disrupt your serotonin and prevent you from being able to fall asleep. So there's just a lot of things that come as there's always a give and a take. So there's a lot of things that come as a consequence based upon a lot of our technological advances. And I just want to bring it back to the first thing you brought up, like the wearable devices. They have been skyrocketing, right? Like everyone wants an Apple Watch or a Whoop band. And yeah, I mean, what is your opinion on the cost reward in terms of the amount of metrics you can collect versus the damage it's causing?
Yeah, great question, Matt. I mean, my whole take is I want to get people to know how they feel,
Yeah.
not to have them rely on a device to tell them how they feel. So we got to
I
get
love
everyone out
that.
of the meta universe.
I love
And
that.
yeah, that's it. At the end of the day, you got to get connected above to God and get grounded outside. And when you do that, those are the big two pillars of health right
Yeah,
there. And
absolutely.
then, yeah, and you can do testing, man. I mean, we worked with professional athletes for 25 years. I've had athleticism.com for 25 years
Yeah.
working with professional athletes. We do tests with them. If you want to use EMF, do a baseline, maybe a midpoint, and then at the end of your period, do an end test. That's fine, but you're
Mhm.
not doing it every day 24/7 for
Right.
years on end. That's not enhancing. So we got to get people to understand, well, if they want to know how many steps, it's 10,000 steps. Well, wear it one day, do your 10,000
Figure it
steps, and
out.
then engage from there.
Right, right. Absolutely. Don't let it become a crutch. Don't let the medicine become the poison. So let's talk about more of the treatment methods around this. Like we just talked about a little bit of an intervention one where you're just coaching people to not wear the device 24/7. But what are some of the other treatment methods that you use?
Well, first off, it's a several step process. It's get a meter or two or three for the three different types and start to identify where the stressors are. And you don't need a meter to say, oh, there's a smart meter right there, or there's a router right there, or there's a cell phone right there. So if you're on a budget, you can avoid that. But now you know that those are stressors.
Hmm.
Then establish proximity protocols, meaning turn them off at night, like put them on airplane mode, put all
Yeah.
your Wi-Fi on an outlet timer and have it go off at night when you're sleeping, because you're not using your computer when you're sleeping. So that's huge. We have all of our electricity turned off in our bedrooms at night.
Mm.
So that's a big thing. And it, when there's an override switch, if we need to turn it on or we're traveling or something, and we got to get up early, we can get our lights, on in the room per se. But every night we have the resonance in our home as low and slow, as close to being outside as possible. So get the meters, identify the stressors, develop proximity protocols. You use, Faraday bags. We have emfrocks.com. We have our own Faraday bags. They dampen the signal strength to safe levels. The phone will still ring inside of them. It didn't when I first made them, but they've turned the signal strength up on the cell phones so much that now the phones do ring in them, which is
Okay.
crazy. So
Yeah.
we got to lower those signal strengths down, and then do your own grounding. Like get outside and get grounded by nature. Go touch a tree if you're in a cold climate and you can't go barefoot. Literally
Hmm.
touch a tree
Yeah.
and you'll feel your hands go warm. I don't know if you've ever stood on cold grass or something and then your feet get warm after a little bit. That's that energy, that conductivity, that grounding effect that's going
That's
on.
dissipating.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Is it like dissipating basically? Like the cold is the signaling, and then it gets warm because that signaling is dissipated or grounded.
Yeah, but I think you're just grounding. You're
Mm,
really recharging your body. You need this electronic transfer where
mm,
energy is just flowing through from the earth to the ground, and it just warms you up, gives
yeah,
more circulation, and I feel that's part of grounding. I surf a lot. I know you swim. I'm in the ocean pretty much every day, swimming or
nice.
surfing or
Yeah,
diving. So I'm getting grounded outside in nature. I live in Laguna Beach, so I have great access to the ocean.
yeah,
But if you're in a river, a pond, or a lake, jump in, get into those bodies of water as
yeah.
much as you can. The cold water therapy is great as well, but that'll recharge your body battery. And then when you're not outside, and everyone lives in essentially an electrical box, let's be real with this. All our homes are wired with electricity. If your bed's touching the wall, it's charged to the level of the outlet. You're basically, we're self-cooking ourselves with low level EMFs. And from Dr. Martin Paul's work, even low level on up to faster speeds of wavelengths are still disruptive for, are those voltage gated calcium channels. So it messes with our body, even the electricity. So let's use the grounding bags and
Hmm.
get those into your home, and one on your bed, 5 together to clear 2,000 square feet. You drive an electric car, you need 7. If you have solar, you need 7 together in your home, plus one on each bed. But we sell them through doctor clinics all around the country. That's the answer inside, is to create a grounding effect and get grounded by nature. Bring the resonance, and we hand mine crystals. That's what's inside the bags. So we bring those crystals into your home to create that coherence between us and the non-native EMFs.
I love that because basically, like the solution is to get out in nature more, and then bring the naturalness of nature back into the home, and get out of
Exactly.
this electrical box that we live in too long.
Exactly.
Well, Justin, tell us a little bit more about who you are, how you got started with this, and why you care so much about this.
Yeah, well, I was an athlete growing up. I went to SC and I wanted to play tennis at USC, and I got hurt going there, and my wrist gave out. So I couldn't even play for more than one day at a time. And so I wanted to help people figure out how to be better and perform at a higher level and not miss out on opportunities that they felt they could have easily achieved. So that's where I start off in the health space, and start athleticism.com. We're in our 25th year of business. And then, yeah, like we've chatted before the call, is it's evolved a lot and into all these different new phases, from speed and strength and coordination and ambidexterity training and nerve work to treating fascia and nerves and concussions and stretching therapies. And then now it's really, we're doing a ton of product sales with our emfrocks.com grounding bags and Faraday bags, and then all of our curated health products on athleticism.com. But my intent is to help as many people this year
Yeah,
that we could possibly help, more than in the last 25 years. That's my goal for this year. And
yeah.
we're on pace for it. And the way we do that is by educating them on physics and grounding, and how to get connected with nature and above, and then how to protect themselves in their homes, which are now, unfortunately, self-induced toxicity and environmental toxins.
Well, I love your story because it sounds like you had basically a personal issue with it yourself, and you wanted to help others be proactive about it and get ahead of the game. And, I think it's so interesting to see the evolution of where expert high level coaching has gone, whether it's performance or recovery and longevity. People as yourself or Paul Chek, I remember he used to talk all about, he's kind of used to be this big macho guy about, I can lift better than anyone. And the military testing that actually deconditions me because that's how poor that protocol is versus how much weight I can move. And then he experienced an extreme injury, and he talked a lot about how it wasn't until he did stuff about the EMF in his house that he actually fully recovered. Like the wavelength was constantly disrupting his ability to heal. And now
Yeah.
he's all about like grounding and stuff like that. And I love that. I feel like you're like one of the leading experts who I've ever talked to about this stuff. So I just think that you're such a pioneer, and we appreciate what you do. And just for our audience again, where can we find your stuff? Where can we find to learn more about you, EMF, and then where can people find some of the products that we're talking about?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. EMFrocks.com and athleticism.com. It's spelled athletic, ISM for those who have trouble spelling it. That's where you'll find me and all of our curated health products. And on Instagram, athleticism neurostacking and at EMFrocks are the two Instagram handles as well.
What is neurostacking?
It's stacking the nervous system. So basically, when you're working with the body, you can integrate a lot of different protocols. So that's what we did with our athletes to start off. Years ago, we would have them balancing on one of David Weck's Bosu balls, one of the first ever in the gyms. And
a protocol Bosu ball.
What's that?
Like a protocol, like a beta tested Bosu ball that you got to try out.
Oh, well, when you read my book, you'll hear the story. But yes, we had one of his first prototypes, which was basically cardboard and then duct taped with a Swiss ball cut in half and blown up.
Oh, that's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. But we'd stack it and we'd have them balance on there. And then they'd have them balance on one leg, and then we'd have them juggle. And then we'd have them doing eye exercises or math equations or all the above at the same time. So we're basically stacking the nervous system. And for treating nerves and concussions, we'll have them do contractions of their feet and their stomach, and then while they're doing eye exercises to get the vision level and center again. So that would be stacking the nervous system, because if they blow out just doing a REM pattern left to right, we got to get that strong. But then once that's strong, then we integrate it with the others.
Gotcha. Makes a lot of sense. One thing I like to end with, like to always ask everybody, what's their favorite exercise, and if they have a favorite quote.
Oh, goodness. My favorite quote is get grounded. My favorite quote is get grounded by nature, because that's your nature and our nature. And then my favorite exercise outside, if someone wanted to get speed and power and become more athletic and dynamic, I would have them do bounding drills.
Okay. That's jumping from one leg to the other, right?
From one leg to the other. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Justin, thank you so much for your time. It was great chatting with you. Great getting to pick your brain. And yeah, look forward to possibly collaborating more in the future.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you.
If you're ready to make steps towards improving your health or increasing your performance, book a free 30-minute call today by visiting thinkfitnesslife.com.